How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, we're going to quickly discuss d4d. David's manager, Josh Marshall, leaves a comment on TikTok. Someone posted up a video. He has left a comment, and it's interesting. A lot of people have interest in who Josh Marshall is because he is the manager. He's linked to the property. But even so, the fact that he's the manager, he is the gatekeeper for David. And as you see in the comment, which I'll read, it's hard for us to comprehend that, he didn't know anything or had zero knowledge of anything. So what I would like to do first is read the comment, get that underway, get that done. And then I would like to break down why Josh is so important here, why we were waiting to see what he had to say. And then I've taken some statement analysis and I broke down this comment a little bit, some concerns I have with the comment. So I would like to also bring that to light. So Josh Marshall is the manager of David, and he posted a response in the comment section of a TikTok video by user Girltown, New Jersey, where accusations were being made against him. In that thread, he initially pushed back at commenters saying things like, "How dare you say something like this with no facts?" Then he posted a more extended statement, which I'll read shortly, but I want to mention something. Sometimes they're extremely quiet because, remember, not only is he Josh Marshall, but he's the manager of David, and he represents Interscope Records. And this is all going to involve, at some level, Interscope Records. So he may be told to keep quiet. But, of course, maybe he's getting curious about what people are saying about the case, and he's, looking it up, and maybe something hit him as a person. Something that maybe the TikToker said, or like here, the comments. So he felt the need to reply back. And sometimes that happens. That's the emotion. And sometimes in emotions, we make mistakes. Because I will guarantee you, they want him to be quiet. Because at this point, he is representing Interscope. He is David's manager. So there's a lot of people that are going to want him to be quiet. Doesn't mean he's guilty of anything. And again, I try to be objective. But with that said, he felt the urge to respond back because something in those comments got to him. And guys, if he really wanted to be heard, he could call any news source right now and they would gladly jump on that interview. This wasn't about him being heard on a public level. This was him responding to something, or more importantly, since it's emotional, reacting to something. And then that's what took a lot of people's interest right now, his extended comment here, his message. So let me read this to you real quick, and then we'll go back and talk about why we believe Josh Marshall is so important. Then we'll go ahead and break down this. Now, granted, I want to say that a lot of people really do believe that this is his comment, that they tracked it down to his social media page. But with that said, it still has yet to be confirmed. But if this is him and this is what he wrote, I would like to read it and provide a response. So this is a comment that he put in the comment section of a TikTok video by Girltown, New Jersey. Okay, so this video is false and the person is misinformed. This is the only time I'll speak on this matter for now. This has been a tough time for my family as I am a father of 3 children. I received no emails and I'm no one's roommate. I live full-time at home with my wife and kids. My daughter is 14 and this news is affecting so many lives. I've never received any emails. I had zero knowledge of anything, and I don't live in California. Also, I work remotely 95% of the time, and my job doesn't require me to have much interaction with any of my clients, in this case, David, as there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. This news is tragic for so many and for her family. I hope the proper authorities, and he says proper authorities, he's not talking about media sleuths. He wants proper authorities, the LAPD who's on the case. Get to the bottom of it soon. Let me remind people a lot of this is speculation and alleged. In the meantime, I'm with my family, helping them emotionally get through the news of this tragedy. Please report on factual information. All right, so let me go to why we want to know so much about Josh Marshall. So he's the manager, right? He's the gatekeeper, correct? So a manager isn't just background. They're a bridge between the artist and the world. They deal with contracts, housing, schedules, and crisis control. They know everything, or they should know everything about this celebrity. Because remember, a celebrity is an investment. So a manager is going to be very aware of what that celebrity is doing. I would believe that the company, Interscope, that hires these managers, they want the managers to be on top. Because remember, the celebrity is an investment. They are investing in the celebrity. If anyone besides David would know who was around and who had access, it's the manager. I agree to that. And that makes Marshall knowledge or lack of it central to the story. You know, I was watching an interview with SF Investigates. I forgot who was interviewing him because I forgot the name of the channel. But he mentioned something that was a very good point. If everybody in this social media world knew that David was with this young girl, someone probably would have called the manager. I mean, it's an assumption, but still, because they know the manager is the direct contact. And somebody would have been reaching out to him, letting him know, like, yo, what's going on? Like, look what David's doing. And I believe that. I believe that when you are the gatekeeper for your client, people are going to be able to communicate to you. They're going to want to communicate to you because they know that they have better access to get to you than they would David. But I just feel, and I agree with SF Investigates, that somebody, because this went wild, somebody would have reached out to the manager. And just even if it wasn't the person that noticed it's a concern, maybe someone that just heard it, that was close to the manager. Hey, don't you represent David? Hey, you hear all that stuff they're saying on Discord about him and Reddit? So I find it very hard to believe that he wouldn't be aware of the people that are in David's circle, especially if this would have been a love interest. 100% he would have been aware of that love interest. So again, rumors put his name on front and center because unlike other entourage members, Josh Marshall was named in specific rumors, the alleged emails, being a roommate, living in California. And living's unique too, because living, the way you define it, could be subjective. You know, he does say in his comment that he doesn't live in Cali. Okay, we know where you live. But with that said, doesn't mean you don't visit places. So maybe you don't consider it living, but could I rephrase living to say the word visit? Visit California? So let's see. His silence made speculation grow louder, and his statement mattered because it directly addressed and tried to shut down those rumors. So remember, see, that's a thing that I want to be fair with. If he was told to be quiet, then there's no counter influence to the stories that go out there. And let's say he really had no involvement, which again, I find very hard to believe. When you decide to come up and say something amid all the chaos that's already out there with the narrative already growing in the other direction, that's going to be just not going to work in your favor. The momentum is already carrying in a direction that does not favor your client. And if you noticed, even in the comment, it wasn't really so much about his client and trying to protect his client, but rather distancing himself from his client. That's a key part of that big comment that you have to pick up on. He is distancing himself from his client. So he's got the denial in that he doesn't know anything, what's going on, but he also distanced himself from his client, because that's a funny thing. If you didn't know what was going on, then technically you don't know whether David is guilty or not. So with that said, you're still working with your client to find out the truth or whatever it is. Still, you're still connected to him to why you're trying to figure this out. But that wasn't the case. He removed himself immediately by just stating the things in the comment that kind of distanced himself. So again, the reason why he may have came up in the comments, that even if Interscope said, hey, you can't speak, you're not supposed to speak, something in that video or something in the comment, it pushed him, and emotionally he reacted. He did not respond. He reacted. And this could be because the case is swirling with speculation, TikTok theories, social media theories, all these types of leaks. So I guess a statement from Marshall has power. It can calm the storm or stir it further, which I think in this case, if this really was him, it's not going to calm the storm because it's too chaotic right now. And how he responds sets the tone for the entire inner circle, because that response could be an effort to try and control the narrative, but it's one person against a world of people. It's not going to happen. So I think he reacted because there was something in there that just got him as a person, or he felt got him as a person. So now there's the knowledge gap question, the central mystery. Who knew what and when, right? We want to know, did you know Celeste? I mean, for someone that everybody sees as so pivotal in this gentleman's career, or in a relationship, whatever it is, you had to know who that was, because if I was a manager, I would want to know who's the closest people to my client, because those are the ones that could influence them. So I would love to know who are the ones that he's hanging out with. I'll guarantee you there's got to be someone in that circle that would have saw this and said it to him. Now, again, they could have stuck with the narrative that she's 19 and went to University of Southern California, and okay, or maybe someone said, hey, this girl's underage. But either way, for him to say he doesn't know her, or that he has zero knowledge of anything, I find that hard to believe. It doesn't make sense in context. I'm not saying it's not true. I didn't say he's outright lying. It's just very hard to believe. So again, if others in the circle knew about Celeste, even misrepresenting her age, but Marshall truly had zero knowledge, that creates a credibility gap. His voice can either close that gap or widen it. Like, I would love to know more on how you can explain that you didn't know of her. If he's your client, how do you not know the people that are closest to him? And then public accountability. In a tragedy tied to a rising star, the team becomes part of the story automatically. Fans, media, and investigators want to know if adults in power positions were aware. As a manager, silence would look like avoidance. And so obviously speaking would be inevitable. And I think you know that, because he said, for now. So I guess what's funny, when he said for now, it's like he's been wanting to speak up. I mean, really speak up. So he probably said something here, but he's got more to say. And there's another reason why we want to know a little bit more about Josh Marshall and how he links to the case. So the Hollywood Hills house, so reports say the lease of the $20,000 per month home where David lived was in Josh Marshall's name. This makes him legally tied to the property central to the investigation. So again, maybe that's how Interscope Records works, because maybe he's the name connected to the label that recognizes or that organizes the lease. But again, anything that goes into that house, I mean, you're on the lease, you're responsible for. So sorry, man, don't put your name blindly on something. Interscope Records, be careful what you put your name on, because you may want to distance yourself, but your name's still on the lease. So, you're connected to it. The police search, LAPD raided that house on September 17, 2025, seizing electronics and evidence. So that's going to showcase a lot. The move out action after the raid, Marshall reportedly moved to terminate the lease and began removing belongings. And we saw that happening. Security cameras, the property had external cameras covering entry points and tenants, including Marshall. So all of them could access the feeds. And then proximity to Tesla. The house is just blocks away from where David Tesla with Celeste inside was impounded. So his main connection right now is to the property. That's what we really know right now. His main connection is to the property, which was close to the vehicle. So he's connected, again, not just as a manager, but that main connection to the case is because of that property. So in short, Josh Marshall matters because he is both the adult closest to David's professional life and the leaseholder of the house central to this investigation. His voice isn't optional here. It's crucial. If he truly knew nothing, it raises questions about oversight. If he did know something, then his denial becomes part of the larger story. And it's true, as a manager and the adult, you should be more involved. If you don't know nothing, then you better explain that too. You got a lot to explain. So now I want to go over the letter real quick, the comment. So again, I'll read the comment one more time, and then now we're going to break down after that, kind of use my statement analysis stuff to try to review this in detail. And it was Down the Rabbit Hole who brought this story up that I saw. I'm subscribed to her. So love to collaborate with her. So if you guys connect, or anybody, just got to build my network. So the statement again is this video is false and the person is misinformed. So he's talking about Girltown, New Jersey. This is the only time I'll speak on this matter for now. He emphasizes that. This has been a tough time for my family as I am a father of 3 children. I receive no emails and I'm no one's roommate. I live full-time at home with my wife and kids. My daughter's 14 and this news is affecting so many lives. I never received any emails. Second time he says that. I had zero knowledge of anything and I don't live in California. Also, I work remotely 95% of the time and my job doesn't require me to have much interaction with any of my clients, David, as there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. This news is tragic for so many and for her family. I hope the proper authorities get to the bottom of it soon. Let me remind people a lot of this is speculation and alleged. In the meantime, I am with my family, helping them emotionally get through the news of this tragedy. Please report on factual information. Josh Marshall. So, could he have written this? A lot of people think he has. So let's treat it as if he has. So I want to mention a few things. Number one, we have no direct denial of knowing Celeste. Nowhere in his statement does he say, I never knew Celeste or I never interacted with her. Instead, his denials are lasered focused on specific rumors about emails, living in California, and being a roommate. That's important because the core question everyone is asking is whether he had awareness of Celeste in any capacity. His silence on that point feels deliberate. Like he maybe can't answer that comfortably. So it's easier for him to try to go around it, and then hopefully most people accept what he said as, well, he doesn't know Celeste. Well, where are you getting that from? He never said that. He never said that. You got to be very careful of what you interpret, because sometimes people put things out there that leave room for interpretation. And then you accept it at face value, and then you put your own interpretation in it, and it turns out that the person never said it. So there could be people reading that says, well, guys, he never met Celeste. Oh, where did he say that? Well, he put that comment up on TikTok. You read it. No emails. Doesn't live out there. 95% of the time, he's working remote. Okay, but again, where did he say that he never met or never knew Celeste? It's not in there. And a lot of people will interpret it and make a bias on that, or bias it. But again, it's left unsaid. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here it goes. In crisis communication, the things left unsaid can matter more than what's spoken. By not naming her directly, he avoids being pinned down later if evidence surfaces. And that's extremely important. So if you guys, again, I try to give out knowledge that could be applied elsewhere. What's unsaid matters. Then you got zero, when he said zero knowledge or absolute, when he said zero knowledge, is that absolute or is that a cover? It's very hard to say that you knew absolutely nothing, that you have zero knowledge. If I hear someone saying they have zero knowledge, that triggers me to ask more questions. Because usually when someone says they have zero knowledge, you ask some questions and all of a sudden they have a little inkling of some knowledge. They just like to think that they could say zero knowledge because it's safer. But again, if you push a little bit more, you find out that they got knowledge. You just got to push a little bit more. So he writes, I had zero knowledge of anything. So that's an incredibly sweeping denial. On the surface, it's strong. It sounds absolute, like he couldn't possibly have known a thing. But when you consider reports that others in David's entourage allegedly knew about a girl named Celeste, even if they thought she was 19 at a University of Southern California student, the idea that the manager knew nothing strains credibility. So as I'm saying, if someone was to put pressure on him, hey, you said you had zero knowledge of this, I will guarantee you if they start asking more questions, he would open up a little bit more and then minimize that knowledge. Well, you know what? I heard about it. Oh, okay, hold on. Because you said before that you had zero knowledge. Now you're saying that you heard that there could have been a rumor. Well, let's explore what you heard. And again, such an absolute denial can sometimes read as overcompensation. If he had simply said, I never knew she was a minor, that would have been more precise. But by saying zero knowledge of anything, he risked losing believability. And I think that makes sense. Like if you said, you know what? Yeah, I heard he was with a girl named Celeste, but I heard she was 19 from the University of Southern California. Okay, I may buy into that because that's what seems to be everybody seems to think. But he said he didn't know anything, zero knowledge of anything. You're the manager. So his position also makes it tough for us to buy in on that. Then I want to talk about the repetition as emphasis. So sometimes people repeat things to emphasize a thought. So Marshall says, I never received any emails, and then repeats that thought again just a few lines later. Says it twice. Repetition is often used to reinforce a single point. It makes sure that if people remember nothing else, they remember that one denial. But it also narrows the focus. By hammering the email angle twice, he's effectively saying, this is the part I want you to focus on. Don't look elsewhere. So maybe he never got that email. Maybe that's why he's pushing that twice, because maybe he can comfortably say, I don't got an email. So good with that. Now, again, how will people interpret that? Guys, he never got that email. He never knew Celeste. Some people would think that. He never got the email. There's no way he knew about her. Nothing. That's not what he said. He just said, I never got the email. To an audience, repeated denials can sometimes sound less like confidence and more like defensiveness. When someone is telling the truth, they usually say it once and move on. When they repeat it, it can feel rehearsed. And critically, he repeats the email denial, but he never once says, I never knew Celeste. Then you got the 95% remote work loophole. He insists I work remotely 95% of the time. So that sounds like distance. But by giving a percentage, he admits there is still 5% of the time unaccounted for. That's 5% leaves room for in-person meetings, travel, backstage moments, times when he could have had closer involvement with David and possibly who he chooses to hang out with. Instead of closing the door, this phrasing leaves it slightly open. It's a denial that comes with its own built-in exception. And if the goal was to firmly distance himself, a line like, I never met Celeste in any capacity would have been stronger, but he can't admit to that because that may not be true. So it's easier for him to say 95% of the time. That's a big number. It's a strong number, but it's not 100%. It's 95%. And then you have the insider-outsider position, which we kind of touched on before, but Marshall writes, there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. That's a distancing move. Position himself as not the guy in the room every day, but he still identifies as the manager, which means he undeniably is inside the operations. This creates a dual image, close enough to benefit from the role, far enough to deny responsibility. It's a careful balancing act that can come across as damage control. He says there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. So, okay, if you're saying you don't work with him every day, do you work with him directly? That would be the next question. You know, again, it's what's not being said. He doesn't completely say he never works with David directly. He just says there's many other people that work with him day to day. I may not work with him day to day. Okay, but have you ever worked with him directly? That would be the stronger question. And that's great because, guys, sometimes people feel confident in a lie at first. But then when you start to ask the right question after the lie's been put in, then they start to get a little bit more hesitant. Because each lie requires another story and can be very exhaustive to keep lying. For now, when he says for now, a door left open for when he'll comment eventually, more fully. Early in the comment, he says, this is the only time I'll speak on this matter for now. That two-word qualifier for now is unusual. Most denials aim to be final, definitive, and strong. By saying for now, he leaves the door open to return later with more. That could suggest he's keeping flexibility in case new information emerges. Remember that. That's extremely important because he knows maybe information will come out later that can conflict with whatever he put here. So this is what I'm going to say for now. And it almost reads as a hedge. This is all I'm saying until I may need to adjust my story later. That's how I looked at it too. But I also looked at it as another way you could look at that is maybe he's not allowed to speak. And right now they're preparing what needs to be said from the Interscope recording. Maybe they're just preparing something to distance themselves. So that's sure with the record. I mean, look what his sponsors there, the people, the brands that dropped them immediately. They distance themselves immediately. So for now could be, we are going to say something. It's just not yet. Or it could be, I'm just waiting for some more information to come out because I have to prepare a story and I need to make sure that all the information's out so I can make sure that if I do create a narrative, there's nothing that conflicts with the narrative. And then emotional framing as deflection. I put this in there too. He leans heavily on personal details, being a father of 3, his daughter being 14, the emotional impact on his family. These are humanizing details designed to generate sympathy and make him relatable, but they also act as deflection. Instead of squarely addressing the allegation, he reframes the story into one about unfair rumors hurting his family. This doesn't answer the public's question. It shifts the audience's emotion. So even if Josh Marshall never had direct interaction with Celeste, is it truly believable that he had zero knowledge when others in the entourage allegedly did? Was she misrepresented to him as an older college student? Did he simply not ask questions he should have asked? Or is his blanket denial an attempt to protect both himself and the artist he managed? By focusing narrowly on email rumors, California residency, and roommate speculation, but never on the bigger question of knowing Celeste, his statement clears up fringe accusations while leaving the central issue unresolved. Now, guys, I would love your thoughts. As always, the show is Tear Talk. If that is his statement, what does it say to you? As always, guys, stay safe.